Hi, I'm Wendell G. Welcome back to the Worldtopia Baseball League. We're still in preseason 2047, and I wanted to zoom in quickly on pitching from the year just past, sort of a 2046 year in review pitching. and at this moment, our pitching staff that you see is, I just did a quick AI setup of the pitching organization without really, I really haven't intervened in it. For instance, the use more often and all this kind of stuff, all the specialty things are still here. But, oh, they don't have any lefty matchups, do they? Okay. Just wanted to focus moment by moment on pitchers. There's one pitcher who's not with us, and I'll get to him in a moment. It's Kellogg Higgum. I want to start with Shihei Uchida, though. And you see, Shihei Uchida is in his first full season last year. He pitched most of his season in 2045, but he started off 2045 down in Katakei. And then came up and got in 28 really good starts with us. Last year, in 2045, he had a 1.23 WHIP and a 4.54 ERA. Pitched 168 innings, 28 starts, and went 11-8 for us. And I think I mentioned last in 2045 that he just came really strong out of the gate. He was like, I don't know, 6-0 or something like that. He got a great start. And pitched well. Ended up with a plus 0.5 WAR for the year. And I was curious how he was going to come back. I kind of felt like he wasn't really a sure thing for me, Shihei thing for me at the time. I thought he could carry the load at the bottom of the rotation, but I wasn't really sure. And then in 2046, he came back and pitched with a lower ERA of 4.15. His WHIP was up at 1.37, but because his walks were a little bit up, but his strikeouts were also up in 2046, and his home runs per nine were way down, 0.8 home runs per nine. And Howard thinks he has a 60 movement rating, but 0.8 home runs per nine, that's more like a 70 movement. That's elite home runs per 9 innings. He finished out with a 103 ERA plus and a 4.0 WAR for us. So Shihei Uchida really did the trick for us in the on the mound last year. Really strong pitcher for us. Strong starting pitcher, and he came from within our own organization. He was a little bit off last 2046 in terms of the walks per nine were a little bit up, and the BABIP was significantly up from 261 to 307. And that's kind of concerning, but I think that was more to do with my defense around him. I hope. He's a right-hander, big right-hander, 6'7", 225 pounds. He's the size of back in my college days, he'd have been a tight end on just about anybody's team. That's big size for a big old pitcher. 4+ pitches, one excellent pitch, the cutter. Excellent control, which belies the increase in walks. So I'm curious to see how he does this year. He pitches a high velocity pitch, about 98 miles an hour. Good stamina. And anyway, just had a good year for us last year. And take a look at his history right quick. And he came in 2035. He entered the WBL as an international amateur free agent from Japan. And we signed him with a $322,000 bonus. By 2044, 9 years later, he was the number 56 prospect in the WBL. And in 2045, the number 15 prospect in the WBL. At that point, I went ahead and brought him up And unfortunately, he was quickly suspended for 3 games after ejection following a brawl because somebody dared to insult his pizza ingredients. So, anyway, he finished out 2045 good and also played well in 2046. This has got to be a bug here. He earned the minimum. He's earned the minimum for 5 years. Isn't that impossible? And he's only got 1 year and 161 days of service. Is he out of options? Have I brought him up and down that much? Good word. He is out of option years. I guess I must have brought him up and down, up and down. That's weird. That is really... I brought him up but gave him no stats? That doesn't make any sense. Now I'm really zoomed into that. I don't know what's going on. I think I talked about it, Sheehy, in the past. He mastered single A right out of the gate. As soon as he got out of the international complex at age 20, Belgorod was a piece of cake, and he was promoted to Novaya Maka the same year, 2039, and didn't do so well. But in 2040, he did well enough that he got a promotion to, by the end of the year, he got he got 6 appearances from the bullpen in Katake. And then he remained in, which is our AAA team, he remained in AAA from 2041 through 2042, 2043, 2044, and then started 2045 in Katake. Just one of these really slow-growing guys. So this coming year, he got his first start in the bigs at age 26, and he is now age 27, entering his 3rd season of WBL League Baseball. So that's Sheehy Uchida. He's been a great surprise for us from within our own organization. Always look around at other players and other teams and sort of envy their pitchers, covet their pictures, but Sheehy is from within and fine pitcher for us. Bartolo Romero came over from Amsterdam in the May trade last year that also brought left fielder Fights Assure over to us. And Bartolo was I think a bargain for us. I think it was a first round and 2 second rounds, plus our top international complex talent for Bartolo Romero and Fights Assure. And Romero is just 23, and looking forward to a long career here in Moscow with this guy. Last year, he, after starting the season down in Amsterdam's AAA affiliate, Belgium, where he pitched 6 excellent starts, he made the transition over to Moscow, and where he made 24 starts with us. And his final record was 8-8 with a 4.12 ERA and a 1.33 WHIP. Very similar to the numbers that Sheehy Uchida put up. Romero's BABIP was also a somewhat sobering 3.19, but he ended up a ERA plus of 1.04 and a 3.2 WAR. He pitched very few home run balls, 1.0 home runs per 9 innings. Very high strikeout ratio, really good stuff on 3 of his pitches. So, Bartolo Romero, I'm looking forward to a long and durable career with this guy. Jose Rivas has been a guy anyway, I have a hard time stopping talking about this guy because I just really like him. I saw him at Key West and still tickled pink that we did the deal for Jose Rivas. Last year he went 14-15 out of 33 starts. So basically this guy pitches deep enough into the game that he's going to get a decision. So he got 29 decisions in 33 starts. He pitched 213 innings for us. Pitched a 4.13 ERA with a 1.13 WHIP. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. A 4.13 ERA. That's the third pitch in a row. His WAR rating was 4.1 with a 104 ERA plus, and 6.4 strikeout per nine versus 1.3 walks per nine. So he doesn't give up a lot of walks. Very high control, which is why he lasts deep into the games, I would presume. He doesn't give up a lot of free passes. So, yeah, Rivas had a fine year last year, starting every game. In 2045, he started 22 games, but he spent a lot of time in the pen. In 2044, his first full season in Moscow, or his first year period in Moscow, 2044, he started in Katakay and got 4 starts down there and 3 more relief appearances, and brought him right on up to Moscow, where he had 7 starts and 32 total appearances, and including some time as our designated closer, if I remember right. So, and he pitched well for us in 2044, and just came up and pitched better in 2045, especially after we settled down and just made him a rotation arm. You can see his WHIP year over year is identical, 113, 113. His ERA climbed 2045 to 2046, but I got to feel that's because of my. It's got to be because of my. Well, it's hard to say because of my defense, but it might just be because the competition has just gotten that much better. So that's Jose Rivas. Very happy to have him in my rotation. Nicodemus Hellman, age 34. This guy just soldiering on. The $18 million man. He's been at Moscow now. He was here for. He's been here 3 full seasons and part of a 4th season. Came to us in 2043. A big trade with Amsterdam. In fact, I think it was Nico for my first round pick in 2043 or something like that. And Nico's been, well, Nico, ever since he came over, he's just been basically rock solid. I think in 2044 I was getting desperate a little bit because he was giving up some long balls early in the season, but he rode it out. And anyway, he got 31 starts in 2044, pitched 28 starts in 2045, and then came back for 33 solid starts in 2046. Finished with his best record yet in Moscow at 17 wins and 10 losses. A 3.80 ERA and 1.10 WHIP. So there's Nico, 5.2 WAR. Good guy to have out on the mound. And still happy to have Nico in our system. Really happy to have Nico. I think Nico was an old Cairo guy. He went to, he started off in Cairo. Spent 2033. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. In his 8th year in Cairo, he was traded to Amsterdam, where he spent parts of 4 seasons. So he was in Amsterdam for a partial season, 2 full seasons, and 1 more partial season before coming to Moscow. So kind of like to make Moscow the place where he retires, but if he's like some of these pitching legends, he's just going to keep getting more expensive, and as his age goes up, so will his contract demand. So I'm just happy to have him for, the next 2 years. This year and next year, I think. I think that's his, Next year is a team option, and if he has anywhere close to the year that he's been having, I'm sure I will exercise that option to retain him for 1 more year in 2048. And we'll look at possible extensions after that. Just a rock-solid guy to have around. Leader in the clubhouse. But he isn't very smart, hence the nickname Brain. Bailey Challen is the new guy on the staff. He essentially replaces Kellogg Hickman as the spot starter, number 5 guy, swing man from the bullpen, He can pitch relief. He can start. He can do whatever we need him to do. He's pitching at about 100-mile-an-hour ground ball still, and so we have him contracted for 2 years plus a team option for the third year. And I think this is a good price. I'm kind of back and forth. I basically paid him exactly what he demanded, his asking price of $4 million, just to get him quick, just to sign him quick. And I've kind of been back and forth myself over whether that was it was good to sign him for $4 million if he turns out to be a bullpen arm. You know, there's plenty of arms that are cheaper. In fact, there are some starting pitchers who have a much less, half of the demand or less. And so anyway, but I'm pretty happy with Challen, and he helps us to keep the costs down, and also he'll provide us quality innings in the bullpen or in the on the rotation, I believe. I was looking back through his history and find it interesting that in his years in Las Vegas from 2037 through 2041, he was basically a full-time starter in the rotation, and 22 starts in 2037 when he was brought up midway, and then 34, 31, 32, and 33 starts in the next 4 years. 2042, it looks to me like he spent some time convalescing. Only got 5 starts and 24 appearances for Vegas. 2043, again, only got 15 starts and 92 innings in Vegas. In 2044, I don't remember if he was traded to Key West. I'll look that up in a second. 2044 at Key West, he made 32 starts and 186 innings. Pretty decent. 1.40 WHIP and a 4.65 ERA, 331 BABIP, 91 ERA plus, and a 2.9 WAR. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Not sterling numbers, but kind of guy that would keep you in games. Lisbon picked him up in 2045. Excuse me. And in Lisbon, he made, looks like he divided his time in AAA at Lisbon and on the big league club, where he got 10 starts apiece in AAA and in Lisbon, and was pretty solid in Lisbon. 1.37 WHIP compared to 1.40 at Key West. So 1.26, 1.51 the 2 years before that in Vegas. Certainly not the same kind of arm he was in Vegas in the 2030s, where he had the whip averaged about 1.00. Certainly not that kind of a dominant arm, but still pretty good arm. So in 2045, he was traded from Lisbon to Cairo and made 6 starts and 11 relief appearances in Cairo. Did not have that great of a season with a 1.68 whip and 5.77 ERA for Cairo. He was also giving up some home run balls, and actually finished that short stint with a negative partial year WAR. But in 2046, he really came back and made. He wasn't used out of the rotation at all. Instead, they used him purely in relief. 67 games, he pitched 73 innings, so just a little bit more than 1 inning per relief appearance on average. And a 1.19 ERA, 3.42 WHIP. I have to talk with Figs and see if he did anything special with Challen to get that kind of great performance out of him. Even in just the 73 innings, he chalked up a 1.3 positive WAR and 12.3 strikeouts per 9. So we'll have to see if we can maintain, his performance, 2046 performance with Cairo into 2047. What was I going to look up? His history. I don't remember exactly. He's had he's been with Australia, Istanbul, Vegas, Helsingborg, Key West, Lisbon, and Cairo, and now Moscow. So he's a journeyman this pitcher. And I think I got him to a nice contract for his skill set. Yeah. Salary is a little bit more than half of what he made last year in Cairo. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's a good value play. And he was a South League All-Star just 2 years ago, and 3 years ago now in 2044. So we'll see. I'll certainly give him the chance to see if he's got another All-Star year in him. And Reginaldo Felitti is currently not listed by the AI. He's not a rotation guy according to the CPU. However, his green stuff keeps going up and up, ratings-wise. Now, he pitched well for us in 2045. He made 25 starts with an excellent 1.18 WHIP and a 4.01 ERA and a record of 11-10, 21 decisions out of 25 starts. That's a great sign. Another great sign of really good control. And a 2.7 WAR. Now, in 2046, he made 22 starts and appeared in 20 more games as a reliever. And his numbers weren't quite so good. A 1.27 WHIP and a 4.39 ERA. His BABIP was up at 304, and his WAR was down. He's just 1.6 WAR and a 98 ERA plus. But his walks were down last year slightly, but significantly. 0.4 out of 2 points, about 16%, 17, something like that, percent down. His home runs per nine were just a little bit up, 1.5 versus 1.1. But he had a pretty good year. I remember being a little bit discombobulated by his performance on the mound, and so I pulled him. I think I was kind of jittery and pulling him off the mound pretty quick, and then putting him back on and off and on. Not on the mound, out of the rotation. So, but I think he'll get the job done for us. He's still going to get the job done for us, and it's always great to have a lefty arm to help neutralize some of the lefty bats. And Howard thinks he's still got room to grow at age 25. So he and Rivas are these Key West guys, man. I don't know what Gusta feeds these guys, but they just keep growing into their abilities, and their ceilings just keep growing. It's like somebody down at Key West tells them the sky's the limit, and these guys buy into that and keep working, progressing, even into their mid-20s. So still happy to have him on the team. Okay, and that looks like it takes us through the starting rotation. Let me take a quick hop over to old Kellogg Cornflake. And here's Cornflake. Cornflake came over to us in 2044, signed him out of free agency to, I think it was a $5.2 million deal. Yeah, 5.2 times 3 years, and I think the third year was a team option. So he had been with Baton Rouge, and the whole time he was at Baton Rouge, I just kept just waiting for this guy, just anticipating him being available to trade for or to get out of free agency. All right, and Kellogg Higham. Hickam is a free agent now, and he'd make somebody a fine $3.2 million pitcher, which is his request. Let's see, I don't remember what I was saying, talking about Higham. Oh yeah, I signed him for $5.2 million per year for 3 years. And I would have been okay with extending him on if his demand had been reasonable, but he asked like $13.2 million for a multi-year contract. You know, $13 million per year for 4 years or something like that. And I think I only ever got him down to $8 million in a 1 year contract, and I wasn't paying him $8 million for 1 year. You know, I just look around free agency right now, and you can staff an entire rotation spending no more than $2 to $3 million per player. So anyway, if Hickham's ask had been closer to this $3.2 million, he might have got another year in Moscow. But I look back over his seasons in Moscow and compare those to his seasons with Baton Rouge, and you can see that in the Red Baton, well, I guess he only had one. I guess 2043 was an outstandingly good year for him. The other years he was about a 1.38 whip. Yeah. Okay. Well, so he had one really great year with Baton Rouge. Who was Sal? Was that prior to Sao Paulo? Who in the world was Sal? Tehran, who is now Kabul. Oh, okay. Anyway. Well, when Hickam came over to Moscow and when we signed him, 2044, he only got 4 major league starts for us, and he got 21 total appearances, 1.45 ERA and a 1.45 whip and 4.57 ERA, a .348 BABIP and a 0.3 WAR. Not great numbers, but his K per 9 was good, and his BB per 9 outstanding, and his home run per 9 was okay. So, it was all right in 2044. He was a good option to have, give me some spot starts. 2045, he was again used as a spot starter. And what I was about to say with 2044 was he spent about half the season down in our AAA affiliate, Katakay, where he pitched well. He just basically, I don't remember if he was injured that year or he just needed, no, he just spent time in AAA. He did sustain an injury in 2045, however. And in 2045, his ERA was significantly up at 5.35, and his WHIP was 1.36. WHIP was okay, 1.36. And his BABIP was only 298. Not really a problem. So, kind of mediocre, decent stats. And then in 2046, his WHIP blipped up to 1.43, and his ERA was 5.14. He only made 2 starts for us in the rotation, and appeared in 16 other games, and spent the bulk of the year down in Katakay, and was really just not happy. He didn't get a lot of playing time last year and was not happy. He was pretty upset about it. In fact, he sent me an email saying he expected to get more pitching, more time on the mound for Moscow, and I just didn't have room for him with the kind of performance that he was doing. And he went into a sulk down in Katakay. He made 8 starts down in Katakay with a 2.22 whip and a 10.74 ERA. He was pretty lousy. He was very upset down in AAA. So it was an easy decision to not renew his contract. He was asking a ridiculous amount, and he was pitching a fit down in AAA. And anyway, I was happy to have him on the squad. I wasn't desperate to move him, but at the same time, I wasn't desperate to have him on the big league staff either. So, Kellogg Cornflake Hickam, his time in Moscow, his 3 years was 2044, 2045, and 2046 was okay, average, meh. He was a good emergency option if we needed one. And now we get down to the bullpen. Mejyan Assad, age 31, the ageless wonder, pitching well for us. 2045 was kind of a rough year for Mejyan. He made 16 appearances and got rocked. But he got it back together in 2046. 2046 was a pretty solid year for him, and a 1.3 WAR year. I've always liked Mejyan. He's got the capability to go in the bullpen or on the mound. and he actually went on the mound for us 10 games in 2046 with mixed results. He had some really good games and some really not so good games, and that's kind of, you know, with a 50 control rating, there are some games he's going to get out of control and have to be pulled early. So anyway, he contributed to the team last year, and I'm glad he's back on through 2048, in which case he might go through arbitration in 2048. Can you believe it? At age, he'll be what, 33 by then, and first going to arbitration. So Mejjan Assad. Carlitos Bernardino has the opposite issue, where Assad has the pitches to be the starter and the stamina to be the starter. Assad's control is the suspect issue. In Bernardino's case, he has the stamina to be the starter. His control is not the issue, but his third pitch, a 30 rated changeup, will basically make him continue to be a emergency starter and a bullpen guy pretty much for the rest of his days. Age 26, and once in a while I look at him, I think he's still got some growth in him. He's making a very reasonable $1.76 million salary through 2051, and he really contributed well last year with a 4.02 ERA and 1.14 WHIP. Probably, easily rather, his best year in the red and the black. He made 2 starts and appeared in 24 relief appearances, 56 innings, and I love that 1.14 WHIP, 1.1 home run per 9, 1.6 walks per 9, 7.4 strikeouts per 9, 107 ERA plus, and a positive 0.8 WAR. So this guy doesn't walk a lot. He's got great control, probably better than 1.6 walks per 9. I dare say that's about a 70-75 control rate. So, yeah. So Carlitos is Dorito Carlito. Good guy to have. Ground ball thrower. Pretty good velocity, 93 to 95 miles an hour. Good pitcher. He came over in the Housing Board trade, the Juan Padilla, the trade of the curse of Juan Padilla in 2043. And he's been solid the past 2 years for us. Luis Ibarria, I talked about him briefly. He's still got some growth in him. He's a lefty, age 25. Came over from Key West in one of our trades. And one really good pitch, his fastball. His slider, still improving. He's got a pretty lousy changeup, but he does have it. Good stamina, good defense, ground ball pitcher. Like I said, I really like Ibarria, and he pitched very well for us last year. 1.09 WHIP, 3.60 ERA, and a 119 ERA plus. He didn't have enough innings, only 45 innings, so very little in the way of WAR. And he walked more than his share. He walked four per 9 innings, and so he didn't give up a lot of hits, but he gave up a lot of walks. He gave up 29 hits and 20 walks in those 45 innings. So if his control keeps coming in, Ibarria will continue to improve for us. As it was, I was pretty happy with his performance last year. Lenya Kadylov. Oh, yeah. There's another guy who is a homegrown Moscow product. He was a 2042 draft pick the year before I took the team over. In fact, I came into Moscow as the 2042 draft was happening. So he was the first Moscow pick in that draft. And at the time, I kind of didn't think too much of this guy, but he just keeps growing and getting stronger. So got good stamina. He's a solid B-plus kind of a pitcher, up and down the board stuff, movement control. He's got 2 good pitches, 1 average pitch, and 1 really crappy circle change. He's still on the minimum contract, and let's see, what else can I talk about? So last year, his stats, he came up first in 2045 and pitched pretty darn well. A 2.37 ERA in 12 appearances. In 2046, he got almost twice as many appearances. Well, he got 18 appearances in 34 innings. Not a whole lot of innings, but it included one start. And I can't remember. I think that's right. He was injured at some point last year, and but he had a 1.59 WHIP, so not the greatest WHIP. His walks per nine at 3.9 were not the greatest either, but that control thing is something that comes in later with some pitchers. And despite all that, he still had an ERA plus of 137. I really like Lenya. Pedro Martinez, another left-hander in our pen. We have slowly accumulated bullpen arms, and Pedro is another one of these guys who I wish if he just had a little bit more of a tick of control. Man, this got to be in my rotation so fast, but something has happened with Pedro in the past off-season because he has blipped right up in terms of stars and arrows and green stuff. Yeah, he has had a really good off-season, according to Howard. A few years ago, his pitch speed improved, pitch velocity improved. Stuff going up, control going up. Yeah, something. Anyway, his board looks a lot greener and bluer than I remember. He had not that great of a year last year, and I remember thinking several times that I would have liked to have sent him back down. But he's out of option years. Oh, he's in the last year of his. Okay, I can work with that. 2.86 million. That'd be awesome. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that at Pedro. At Pedro Martinez. Yeah. All right. Well, last year he appeared in 51 games. Started 2 games. 2 spot starts for us. Projected role in the WBL starter, so maybe maybe he should be a starter on another team. I don't know. I don't know if I got room for him, but 55 innings for us last year, a 5.01 ERA, 1.63 WHIP, which is not great. He gave up some long balls, 1.6 home runs per 9, 3.9 walks per 9, but also 9.2 strikeouts per 9. His strikeouts really jumped over the prior 2 years. And that's good. I think he genuinely has gotten better stuff in the past year. Still, his BABIP was high at 345. That's ridiculously high. So we'll have to figure out what's going on with his BABIP, and he'll have to get control of his control, get those walks down. I had him going as a spot starter against, or not spot starter, but a left Alugi. For part of last year, and I'll have to figure out if that plays into it. At Pedro came over to us from, gosh, I'd forgotten it was Buffalo. I thought it was Buffalo, wasn't it? In 2043, and I think it was for a second-round pick. So I've always liked that Pedro, and his performance hasn't been great. If you look at his ERA, it's just been climbing. 304 to 434 to 501, and his WHIP likewise 097 to 147 to 163. But maybe this is the year he gets it figured out and starts it improving again. So that's at Pedro. I already talked about Leonardo Turtle Munoz. Love this guy. Love him. Look at that slider. This is starting quality stuff. Unfortunately, his stamina. He needs to work out on that stamina a little bit in the weight room, but this past year he pitched really well for us. His best WHIP year ever, 1.22 WHIP and a 0.6 home runs per 9. Really good with the home runs, walks per 9. His strikeouts per 9 were down. So, old Turtle still soldiering on. Luis Chavez, the former outstanding starter at Buffalo, came over to us in the Donald Mason trade and is now our closer. He's also a guy who would start for us all the time in our rotation if his stamina was better. But you can see he's a 100-mile-an-hour flamethrower. Just still got wicked outstanding stuff, and he is our designated closer. And each of the past 2 seasons, he's appeared in 67 games. In 2045, he saved 34 games, and last year he saved 32 games. So he is our closer, and just an outstanding 67 appearance kind of a guy that we have here at the back end of the bullpen. I think I'd prefer having Chavez over anybody else, including Carpet Bomber. So yeah, he is a little bit pricey for a closer at $4 million per year, but meh. There's Bailey. We talked about Reginaldo. And back to Nicodemus. And so there's the pitchers, the Moscow pitchers. I've kind of droned on long enough here, but just wanted to go over the pitchers for the year, the pitching lineup. It's probably going to look pretty much like this. I may have to send one guy down to make room for the bats. Not really planning to do any grand experimentation with 3 or 4 man rotations or anything like that this year. And I experimented last year with having these guys set at none specified, no roles specified, and that pretty much coincided with our collapse. So I think I'm going to just keep stuff pretty much normal. Well, let's see. Let's try. We'll see how that works. We'll see how the AI works. The AI is perfectly capable of managing this team better than I am, I think. So good to have 3 left-handers in the bullpen, and 2 of them can come out into the rotation when I need them. So I like to bring those guys out once in a while and surprise some people. Fascinating. Oh, wow, hit batsman. Nico led the team in hit batsman last year at 13. Rivas 10, Felitti with 9. Nico just thumping people last year. That's kind of a great pitcher, isn't it? He also led the team in strikeouts. He only gave up 26 walks last year. That was outstanding. Felitti gave up the most home runs at 30 home runs last year. Shihei Uchida gave up the most hits, 240. Let's see. Nico, Rivas, and Uchida all gave us 200-plus innings. Felitti and Romero gave us fewer because we were swapping other guys in at number 4 and number 5. So, very good. How many starts? I guess that's the key. Yeah, Hellman, Rivas, and Uchida all started 33 games. Romero, 24 games. Felitti, 22 games. And Assad, 10 games, with Bernardino and Martinez starting 2 each, and Ketilov starting a game as well. I think I started him a game in his very first call-up last year. Probably not the best idea, but... All right, well, there's Moscow's pitching, and we're still first in the NL North right here. 0 games behind, first in the North. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.